Back with you tonight here on In Focus. We begin then to look at some business news. Old Mutual delivered strong financials across its portfolio with a 62% rise in headline earnings per share for the interim period ended June 2022. In an interview with our business editor, Xolani Mbanjwa, the CEO, Iain Williamson, denies allegations that the insurer has been involved in collusion to fix prices in the sector following the Competition Commission raid of Old Mutual offices last week. Williamson adds that COVID-19 deaths have slowed, but more people continue to take up life insurance, while the company has also entered a deal to provide free Wi-Fi to taxi industry. Take a listen.
Yeah, very significant. So what you've seen happen as the waves have progressed is that although we've seen infections, we've seen a lot less deaths. And we did set aside money already last year to anticipate some impact from COVID, and we've seen a much less significant impact than we expected. So essentially the strength of the virus from a causing severe illness and death perspective has declined quite rapidly. So long may that continue. I think it's been very nice to see people again interacting socially, not having to wear masks, starting to understand what people really look like behind their masks. I even met one or two members of my executive team for the first time and was quite surprised at, how tall, short, etc. people are that you don't realize in a virtual interaction environment.
You noted that 1.2 trillion rands is the funds under management that you have, and they were down 7%, and you cited lower market levels in South Africa and globally having driven this downturn in your funds under management. Explain.
So the two most significant issues were the international markets. As you know, or as I think all of us know, the US market in particular was down very significantly, something like 30% in the first 6 months of this year. And we do have some exposure to offshore equity markets on behalf of our clients. And secondly, locally, the equity market was flat over the period December to June. But the bond yields went up significantly. So the bond markets from a capital value of a bond perspective were down also quite materially. So those were the two biggest contributing factors to the reduction in the funds under management.
The good news, of course, is that the business sales in your life insurance segment were up 15% to 6.2 billion rands. What can you tell us about that?
Now, look, I do think that one of the silver linings around the COVID cloud was that, people have realized that, life insurance is a valuable thing to have. And so we have seen a little bit of natural increase in customer demand. Having said that, our sales growth outside of South Africa was much higher than it was in South Africa. So the average across the portfolio was 15%. But in our Africa regions business, life sales are up 27%. And in our Chinese business, life sales are up 100%. So, we've seen much bigger increases outside of South Africa than in South Africa from a sales perspective.
Let's talk about something that is quite interesting. You announced today a partnership with the taxi industry that is going to see the taxi industry receiving free Wi-Fi. Take us into this partnership.
So we partnered with an entity called Bridge Taxi Finance. They essentially lease taxis to the taxi industry. They cater to about 300,000 commuters every day across South Africa through the network of taxis that they do finance. And essentially we've entered into a partnership with them whereby we provide them with some funding in order to assist people to purchase taxis. We also provide a short-term insurance cover across those assets. And then the idea being that we would provide free Wi-Fi into the taxis so that the commuters can log in on their cell phones and do things in the taxi. But obviously what that gives us, it gives us a marketing opportunity to market our products to all those commuters, while they're on their daily journey to and from work.
How do you see the next 6 months panning out for the Old Mutual Group and the South African economy as a whole? Which factors are going to matter the most in the next 6 months?
So we're actually quite positive on South Africa for that period that you're referring to, primarily because I think we're recovering from a really quite a low point. So inflation was running at 7.8%, the CPI in July, on the back of what we've spoken about with petrol prices, imported food prices, etc. We expect that to start to come down now. I think the petrol price will in all likelihood come down next month and the month after. And that ripples through the prices of almost everything in our economy. So I think that should help a little bit. We also expect GDP growth to start to pick up a little bit from a low of where it has been on a forward-looking basis. I think globally things will remain very volatile. All the central banks around the world, or particularly in Europe and the US, are grappling with how to deal with inflation. There's still a lot of uncertainty around the energy supply chain given the continuing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And while that is all going on, I think we'll see a lot of volatility in markets. So I would hate to be the one who's trying to forecast what markets are going to do. I think that's a game for somebody else to play. But I think we can expect some volatility at the end of the day.
Iain, I have to ask you about this. The competition authorities raiding Old Mutual last week. It is one of the 8 companies that were raided in what was in a spectacular fashion, really. I wanted to know from you, as the group CEO, how do you view the raid itself from the competition authorities in the manner that it happened?
Yeah, so it was a big surprise. I think they successfully created an element of surprise across the industry. I don't think anyone saw a raid coming. And it took a while to calm our staff down. I mean, we had 40 uniformed officers coming into our buildings, and it did create quite a lot of panic around, what on earth is going on. I think we established we made it very clear to them that we would be cooperative and would assist them with whatever they wanted to know. So we managed to establish a clear pattern of working over the course of evidence gathering, which took a day and a half or so. I think importantly from our side, 3 things. One is, we will cooperate with whatever investigation needs to happen. Secondly, we stand for strong governance. We will not tolerate any willful or knowing contravention of laws in our business. So, if there is anything found to have been going on that's unacceptable from our perspective, we will, as I say, we'll continue to cooperate, and it's very early days, so we'll see what emerges. At this stage, I think it's important to say that the status of the raids, etc., is they are part of a pattern of evidence gathering. There are no concrete allegations at this stage. We don't formally stand accused of anything. I think so it's just something that we need to see unfold, see what emerges from that.
The allegations themselves, although they have not been put forward and formally, and it's still information gathering, as you say, at this stage, they are quite serious because these allegations go back decades in which there was collusion among the top insurers in the country.
Yeah, so as I say, there's no allegations at this stage. I think the way that the Commission has worded it is that they are investigating to see whether the evidence would result in allegations being made. So I think it's quite a carefully worded statement, and I don't think it's really appropriate to comment further than that at this point, other than to reiterate that, we would not knowingly do anything to prejudice customers, and we stand for strong governance, and therefore it would be unacceptable to us that that would be happening if it were to be found to be happening.